By the time Tina Peters turned 25, she could barely remember what it felt like to be single. There was always someone sending her voice notes before sunrise. Someone calling her my love. Someone promising her forever after the first week. And eventually, someone disappointing her. Tina wasn't addicted to relationships. She was addicted to hope. She believed in love the way some people believed in miracles. Unshakably, fiercely, even when life kept proving otherwise. Her friends, Vivian and Priska, had watched the pattern repeat for years. "You're like a walking romance magnet," Priska would sigh. Vivian would add, "Yes, but why is it always the messy type that find you?" Tina always laughed at their comments, but deep inside, she felt a heaviness she didn't know how to explain. It wasn't that she needed a relationship. She just didn't know how to exist without one. There was always a man in her life, even if he wasn't good for her. The first heartbreak came at 19. His name was Roland. Tall, charming, irresistible. He had the kind of smile that made girls forget their common sense, and Tina was no exception. He wrote long messages about destiny and soulmates, played her love songs over the phone, and told her she was his missing piece. She believed him. He seemed so sincere. But one evening, a picture arrived on her phone. Roland, smiling at a party. His arm wrapped tightly around another girl. Her friend had sent it, writing, "Isn't this your boyfriend?" Her heart sank so fast it felt like her chest had turned hollow. When she confronted Roland, he didn't deny it. He didn't even apologize. "We never said we were exclusive," he said casually, as if her feelings were a minor inconvenience. Don't overthink things. Something inside Tina broke that day. Not just trust, but the innocence she carried into love. She left him. She cried for weeks. Then, eventually, she healed. And once she felt strong again, someone new walked in. 21, she met Josh. Josh called her my queen, but it quickly became clear that what he really meant was my sponsor. He admired her success a little too much, the way someone admires an ATM. "Babe, can you help me with something small? The guys want to hang out, I just need a little support." "I'll get you back, promise." He never did. Tina found herself paying for dates, buying him birthday gifts that cost more than his monthly allowance, and settling bills he made sound urgent. Yet whenever she needed emotional support, he mysteriously became unavailable. "Oh, relax, babe," he would say. "I'm going through a lot." But whenever he was with his friends, he seemed perfectly fine. Tina ended things the moment she realized she was practically financing the relationship. She told herself she had learned her lesson. And for a while it seemed true. At 23 came Chaik. Chaik didn't cheat. Chaik didn't ask for money. Chaik didn't disappear for days. Chaik simply didn't respect her. He called her too sensitive whenever she shared her feelings. He made jokes at her expense in front of others. He dismissed her dreams as unrealistic ideas. "You worry too much," he told her once. "Just let me lead." "To where?" she asked quietly. He never answered. He simply expected her to follow. 3 months later, Tina finally recognized that disrespect is its own form of heartbreak. She left, but the relationship left a bruise, one that made her doubt her worth. Still, loneliness frightened her more than disappointment. So when the next man appeared, she let him in too. The cycle continued. Different men. Different beginnings. Same endings. Tina was beautiful, successful, wealthy, and kind-hearted. On the outside, she looked like someone who had everything figured out. Her business was thriving, her apartment was stylish and warm, and she carried herself with confidence. But on the inside she was tired. Tired of giving too much, tired of hoping that this time would be different, tired of being the one left hurting. Her friends noticed before she did. One evening, Tina sat on a rooftop lounge with Vivian and Priska, watching the city lights shimmer like stars scattered across the night. A soft breeze played with her hair as she sipped her drink, pretending everything was fine. Vivian glanced at her. "So, how are things with Ao?" Tina shrugged. "He hasn't called in 2 days." Priska frowned. 2 days. What's his excuse this time? Tina exhaled. He said he's busy with work. But he posted a video yesterday of him hanging out with his boys, so. I don't know. Vivian leaned in. Tina, you deserve someone who makes time for you, not someone who gives you excuses. Priska added. Do you realize you haven't been single since you were 19? Tina blinked, caught off guard. That's not true. I mean, I've had breaks. Priska raised an eyebrow. Breaks. Or transitions. Vivian nodded. There's always been someone waiting in line. And you've always been afraid to stand alone. Tina tried to protest, but the words refused to form. Vivian continued gently. You're always the one adjusting. Always compromising, always explaining their behavior. When is someone going to adjust for you? When will someone choose you without making you shrink? Tina felt her chest tighten. Priska reached out and held her hand. Tina, you're not hard to love. You've just been loving the wrong people. The statement hit her deeper than she expected. She thought back to the endless cycle. Giving too much, settling too quickly, hoping too desperately. Maybe they were right. For the first time, Tina wondered. What if the love she'd been looking for wasn't in someone else's hands? What if it was something she had to build inside herself first? The realization frightened her. But it also freed her. She lifted her head, eyes clearer than they had been in months. You know what, she whispered. I'm done. I'm done searching for people who don't even know what they want. I'm done chasing love like a prize. I'll focus on myself. If love wants me, it knows where to find me. Vivian smiled. That's the strongest thing you've ever said. Priska squeezed her hand. Welcome back to yourself. Tina looked out at the glowing city and breathed deeply, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. For the first time in her adult life, Tina Peters chose herself. She didn't know it yet, but that one choice would change everything. The morning after that rooftop conversation, Tina Peters woke up to something unfamiliar. Silence. No good morning text. No blinking notifications from anyone calling her baby or my woman. No half-hearted messages from men who remembered her only when they were bored. For a moment, she almost reached for her phone out of habit, fingers hovering over her chat list, searching for someone to message. Then she remembered her own words from the previous night. I'm done searching. She slowly put the phone down. Instead of checking messages, she opened her curtains. Sunlight poured into her room, washing the space in warm gold. Her apartment felt different somehow, like it was finally hers, not just a waiting room between relationships. She stood there for a while, watching the light crawl across the floor, and whispered to herself, Okay, let's see who you are without anybody else. The first week was harder than she expected. She didn't realize how much of her daily routine had been built around other people. During lunch breaks, she no longer had a boyfriend to call, so she ate quietly, scrolling through news instead of romantic chats. At night, there were no long phone calls, no sleepy arguments, no forced late-night conversations just to keep someone interested. There was only her thoughts, and the occasional movie playing on her TV. The emptiness felt loud at first. So loud she almost wanted to run back to what she knew. But every time she felt tempted to text someone from her past, she heard Vivian's voice in her head. You are not hard to love. You've just been loving the wrong people. And then Priska's. You haven't been single since 19. She refused to go back. If she was going to break this cycle, she had to commit to it. So Tina began to rebuild her life. This time around herself. She started going on solo dates. The first time she took herself out to a cafe, she felt awkward. Sitting alone at a table, she could feel eyes on her. Or maybe it was just her imagination. Either way, she fought the urge to reach for her phone and pretend to be busy. Instead, she ordered a drink, took out a book, and decided she would not hide from her own company. After a while, the discomfort faded. The coffee tasted richer. The story in her hands drew her in. She almost forgot to care whether anyone thought it was strange that she was alone. Another day, she went to the cinema by herself. No one beside her to share popcorn with. No hand to hold in the dark. Just her, sitting comfortably, laughing and reacting freely without worrying what someone else thought. She began to realize something important. Being alone wasn't the same as being unloved. Her business also began to flourish in ways she hadn't noticed before. Without late-night arguments or emotional stress draining her, she had more energy for creative ideas. She rebranded her online store, improved her customer response time, and invested in marketing. Orders increased. Her savings grew. Clients complimented her professionalism and attention to detail. One evening, after finishing her accounts, she stared at the numbers on her laptop and smiled. I did this, she thought. Not a boyfriend. Not anybody else. Me. It felt good to acknowledge her own power. Of course, not every moment was perfect. There were days when loneliness sank its teeth into her. Like on Sundays when couples walked past holding hands. Or at weddings where aunties leaned over to whisper, "So, when are we coming to eat your own jollof?" Sometimes old conversations would replay in her mind, sweet words from men who had turned sour. The urge to call someone, anyone, would rise like a wave. One evening, after a long, quiet day, she admitted this to Vivian over the phone. "I know I'm doing the right thing," Tina said, lying on her couch. "But sometimes it feels like I'm denying myself something everyone else has. Like I'm choosing emptiness." Vivian's voice was gentle. "You're not choosing emptiness. You're choosing space." "Space," Tina repeated. "Yes, space for better things. You've spent years filling your life with almost love and almost respect. That doesn't leave room for what you actually deserve." Tina was quiet. Priska, who was on speaker, added, "Think of it like cleaning out a room. Before you put in new, beautiful furniture, you have to remove the old, broken things. What you're feeling is the room being empty for the first time. But that's not the end, it's the middle." That picture stayed with her. She wasn't empty, she was making space. With time, the peace grew. She started journaling at night, writing down her thoughts, her doubts, her small victories. "Today I didn't check my ex's Instagram. Today I enjoyed my own company at lunch. Today I looked in the mirror and liked what I saw. No makeup, just me." Her standards began to shift quietly inside her. She thought about all the things she had allowed in the past. Being shouted at. Being emotionally ignored. Being treated like an option. Being loved only when convenient. "I forgave too easily," she wrote one night. "Not because I was kind, but because I was scared." That realization hurt. But it also healed. Because once she named the fear, it started losing its power. Vivian and Priska noticed the difference in her. She laughed more, from her belly, not out of politeness. She looked more rested. Her eyes, once constantly tired and searching, were now calm. One Saturday they all met up at a spa. As they soaked their feet in warm water, Vivian studied Tina and smiled. "You're glowing." Tina rolled her eyes playfully. "Please, it's just the spa light." "No," Priska insisted. "It's you. You look free." Tina's smile softened. "I feel different," she admitted. "I don't feel like I'm waiting anymore. For a call. For a text. For someone to pick me. I'm just living." "And how does it feel?" Vivian asked. She thought about it carefully. "Peaceful," she said. "Like I can finally hear my own voice." They didn't realize it then, but that inner calm would soon be tested and noticed. In the months that followed, men still came into Tina's orbit. A coworker tried to flirt. An old classmate messaged her out of the blue, suddenly curious about her life. A guy in her gym complimented her every time she walked in. The difference now was simple but powerful. She wasn't impressed just because someone was interested. Where she once rushed into conversations and entertainment, she now observed. She paid attention to patterns. She listened to what people said about others, not just what they said to her. If someone showed signs of disrespect or emotional immaturity, she quietly stepped back. No drama, no long speeches. She was no longer hungry for love. She was full of self-respect. And that changed everything about the energy she carried. One Saturday afternoon, a few months after her rooftop decision, Tina dressed up to take herself out for lunch. Not a date. Not a meeting. Just a simple, peaceful lunch at a restaurant she'd been wanting to try. She checked herself in the mirror. Neat braids, light makeup, a classy outfit that embraced her success without screaming for attention. "Well, Tina Peters," she said to her reflection with a tiny smile, "this version of you is starting to look like the woman you prayed to become." She picked up her bag and headed out. She didn't know that at that restaurant, a single small, clumsy accident was waiting for her. And that accident would be the doorway to a completely different kind of love. By the time Tina Peters arrived at the restaurant, the sun hung softly in the sky, warm enough to brighten the world without burning it. It was the kind of afternoon that whispered take it slow, and Tina was exactly in that kind of mood. The restaurant sat on a quiet street corner, with glass walls that made it glow like a little lantern. Inside, soft jazz music drifted through the air. Conversations were low and calm, the clinking of cutlery a gentle background sound. Tina walked in confidently, her bag tucked under her arm, her steps unhurried. She wore a soft cream-colored blouse and rust-orange trousers that fit her perfectly. She looked like a woman at peace, a woman who knew herself, a woman who didn't need anyone to complete her. People noticed, though she didn't realize it. Her glow wasn't loud. It was quiet but undeniable. A waitress guided her to a small table near the window, where sunlight spilled across the surface in patterns that looked like golden lace. Tina ordered something simple: grilled chicken, vegetable rice, and a bottle of sparkling water. She wasn't in a rush. She wasn't thinking about her phone. She wasn't wondering if a man would call or not. She was simply there, present, living. 15 minutes passed, and her food finally arrived. The waiter who brought it was young, probably new, because he looked nervous, balancing a tray that seemed too big for his shaky hands. "Ma'am, your order is..." "Oh, I'm so sorry." In one quick, unfortunate moment, the tray tilted. The chilled drink slipped off the edge and crashed against the table, splashing cold water all over Tina's blouse. A collective gasp swept through the restaurant. A couple at the next table widened their eyes. Two ladies whispered behind their menus. The waiter stood frozen, face pale, hands trembling. Tina stared at the wet patch on her blouse. Then she looked up at the waiter. The boy's lips trembled. I'm so sorry, ma. It was a mistake. I didn't mean, please." Tina raised a hand, stopping his panicked apology. "It's all right," she said gently. "It's just water. Don't worry." The boy blinked, shocked. "Ma, accidents happen," she added with a small smile. "Just bring me some tissue, please." The entire restaurant seemed to exhale. Somewhere at the far end, someone muttered, "Ah." I thought she would shout. Another whispered, "See grace. See maturity." The waiter rushed to get tissues, still shaken. Tina dabbed her blouse casually, unfazed. She didn't scold. She didn't frown. She didn't even raise her voice. She didn't feel the need to. Months ago, back when her emotions ran wild, back when she searched desperately for love, back when rejection made her overly sensitive, she might have reacted differently. But now, this was nothing. Life had taught her bigger lessons than spilled water. What Tina didn't know was that she wasn't the only one who had noticed the incident. At the table behind her, a quiet observer had been watching the entire moment unfold. A man, tall, dark-skinned, with sharp but gentle features. He wore a well-tailored navy blazer and a wristwatch that suggested he valued craftsmanship more than brand names. His presence was calm, confident, and deeply rooted. His name was Darren Cole. He had noticed Tina the moment she walked in. Not just because she was beautiful, many people were beautiful, but because she had an aura that stood out. Calm dignity. A sincere, unforced elegance. And now, watching her handle the waiter with such kindness, something in his chest nudged awake. Not attraction alone, respect. He watched silently as she brushed off the water, refusing to turn the accident into a scene. She didn't belittle the boy or embarrass him. She didn't try to draw attention. She simply stayed calm. He'd seen enough in life to know that how a person treated those with less power said far more about them than anything else. Darren waited until the waiter walked away, then stood from his table and approached her. "Hello," he said warmly, stopping at a respectful distance from her table. Tina looked up surprised. The man standing before her radiated quiet confidence. His voice was deep but gentle, the kind that made everything sound composed. "Yes," she replied politely. "I just wanted to say that the way you handled that situation was impressive." She blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. He continued, "Most people would have shouted, or demanded to see the manager. But you were very calm." He smiled slightly. "It says a lot." Tina let out a soft laugh. "Thank you. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal." He raised an eyebrow. From the way the waiter froze, it clearly felt like a big deal to him. She chuckled, shaking her head. "Poor boy. I'm sure he was terrified." "Well," Darren said, "you made his day easier." There was a brief, comfortable pause. Not awkward, just easy. She studied him quietly. He wasn't trying to flirt. His compliment didn't feel forced. He wasn't hovering too close or trying to charm her with stretched smiles. He was simply speaking like a genuinely kind person. "May I join you?" he asked, still giving her space to decline. Tina hesitated, not out of fear but habit. Months ago she would have said yes immediately. Weeks ago she would have said yes out of curiosity. Now she only said yes to what felt right. She studied him again. His posture was respectful. His expression sincere. His tone calm. And something in her intuition whispered, "He's safe. And you don't have to give anything. Just talk." She nodded. "Sure." He took the seat opposite hers. Conversation flowed effortlessly. They talked about small things at first: food, work schedules, weekend hobbies. Darren told her he was in real estate and ran a company that built residential homes. Tina didn't mention money, but from the subtle details he shared, she could tell he was successful. Yet he spoke with humility. He didn't brag. He didn't show off. He didn't make her feel small. Tina told him about her business too, and he listened, really listened. Not the absent-minded nod some men give, but with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions about her process and clients. Minutes turned into an hour. Then into 2. At some point, Tina realized she was laughing. Genuine, unrestrained laughter that came from a part of her she hadn't felt in months. Darren noticed too. "You have a beautiful laugh," he said gently. She flushed, embarrassed but not uncomfortable. "Thank you." And again he didn't push further. No flirty overreach. No uncomfortable comments. Just authentic admiration. When she finally checked the time, she was shocked to see how long they'd been talking. "Oh wow," she said. "I didn't mean to keep you this long." "You didn't keep me," Darren replied. "I stayed." Their eyes met, and something soft passed between them. Something unforced, something warm. He stood slowly. "Tina Peters. I'm really glad I met you today." Tina smiled, a gentle, sincere smile. "I'm glad too." "May I see you again?" he asked, still giving her full freedom to refuse. Tina paused. Not out of fear, not out of pressure, but out of thoughtfulness. Then she nodded. "Yes, you may." And for the first time in a very long time, she wasn't agreeing because she was lonely, or because she feared missing out on love. She agreed because this moment felt healthy, natural, and because she was ready, not for a man but for genuine connection. As Darren walked out of the restaurant, Tina watched him go, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope, calm, steady hope that didn't come from desperation. The kind of hope that finds you when you stop chasing. For the first time in her adult life, Tina Peters didn't rush home after meeting a man and replay every word in her mind. She didn't analyze his tone or search for hidden meanings, or wonder whether she had said too much or too little. She simply got home, changed into comfortable clothes, made herself a cup of ginger tea, and sat by her window watching the evening sky. For once, her heart wasn't racing. It wasn't confused. It wasn't desperate. It was simply calm. She smiled to herself. So this is what peace feels like. A message without pressure. The next morning, her phone buzzed. A part of her expected the usual pattern. Either a good morning text dripping with overly sweet words or a long silence from someone who had suddenly lost interest. But when she unlocked her phone, she found a simple, respectful message. Darren Cole. Good morning, Tina. Thank you again for the lovely conversation yesterday. I hope your day is kind to you. Just that. No pressure. No overfamiliar tone. No demands. Tina smiled softly. She typed back. Tina. Good morning, Darren. I enjoyed it too. Have a productive day. She couldn't explain it, but something about this simplicity made her feel safe. Conversations that felt like breathing. Over the next few days they spoke occasionally. Not constantly, not in overwhelming bursts. Just enough to feel connected without being smothered. Darren didn't ask for pictures. He didn't demand her time. He didn't test her by disappearing. Instead, he asked about her business, her hobbies, her thoughts on random things like favorite foods and dream vacations. He shared stories from his work. Funny clients, interesting properties he'd seen, small frustrations that made him human rather than intimidating. He listened. That alone was rare. One evening he called unexpectedly. Hey, Tina. Is this a good time? She blinked in surprise. He asked permission before calling. That was new. Yes, I'm free. How are you? Tired, he admitted with a chuckle. Today felt like 3 days stuck together. But I wanted to hear your voice before the day ended. Warmth spread through her chest. They talked for an hour. About books, family, the funniest mistakes they'd made in life, their dreams. She laughed until her stomach hurt. And when they ended the call, she didn't feel drained the way she used to with other men. She felt full. Vivian and Priska noticed the shift. That weekend, Tina met with her 2 closest friends. They sat in their usual booth at a cafe, sipping cold drinks while Vivian studied her with a curious frown. You look suspiciously happy, Vivian said. Priska leaned forward. Did something happen? Tina tried to brush it off. It's nothing major. Just someone I met. Vivian gasped loudly. Finally. After months of you being a meditating monk. Tina rolled her eyes. I'm not dating him. We're just talking. Priska raised an eyebrow. Talking how? Talking like talking? Or talking like actually getting to know someone properly? Tina hesitated. Honestly. The second one. The table fell silent. Priska clapped dramatically. Finally. A man who doesn't treat conversation like a transaction. Vivian leaned closer. Does he respect boundaries? Yes. Does he overshare or try to impress you with nonsense? No. Does he make you feel like you're in competition for his attention? Not at all. Vivian grinned. Then we're interested. Proceed. Tina laughed until she covered her face. A different kind of date. A week later, Darren invited her to lunch. Not dinner where pressure sneaks in. Not a late-night hangout with questionable intentions. Lunch. Bright, simple, open. He chose a quiet restaurant with outdoor seating. When Tina arrived, he stood up immediately, smiling warmly, his dark eyes lighting up. You look beautiful, he said softly, without staring too long, without making it uncomfortable. Thank you, she replied, feeling unexpectedly shy. They talked about everything from childhood memories to career struggles. Darren asked thoughtful questions and offered thoughtful answers. He wasn't trying to impress her. He was letting her discover him naturally. At some point, he noticed she kept checking her phone. Expecting a message? He asked gently. Oh no. It's just habit, she admitted. I used to date someone who got angry if I didn't reply instantly. Darren frowned, not in judgment, but in concern. You deserve better than that kind of pressure. Just those words. Simple. Supportive. No attempt to insult her ex. No attempt to position himself as a savior. It made Tina relax deeper into her seat. Small gestures that spoke loudly. After lunch, Darren walked her to her car. He didn't hold her waist or pull her close without permission. He simply walked beside her, keeping a comfortable distance. When she reached her car door, he turned to her. "Tina, I enjoy your company," he said honestly. "Not because I want something from you, but because you're easy to talk to. I hope we can do this again." Her heartbeat fluttered, not wildly, not fearfully, but gently. "I'd like that," she replied. He smiled, a soft, genuine smile. "Good. Please drive safely." He didn't ask to come over. He didn't hover. He didn't linger hoping for a kiss. He respected her space. And somehow, that made her want to see him again even more. The growing calm. In the weeks that followed, Tina noticed a profound change in herself. Her anxiety around relationships slowly faded. She no longer waited by her phone. She no longer questioned her worth. She no longer felt she had to prove anything. Darren didn't give her butterflies, the chaotic kind that made her feel unsure. He gave her warmth. He gave her clarity. He gave her peace, the kind she had been building inside herself before he even arrived. He didn't complete her. He complemented her. One evening, as she journaled, Tina wrote, "I'm not falling quickly this time. I'm moving slowly, with intention. I'm not losing myself. I'm meeting someone while holding on to who I am. This feels different. I feel different." And she was right. For the first time, she wasn't shaping herself to fit a man's world. She wasn't performing, pretending, or adjusting to be seen. She was simply being Tina Peters. And someone was seeing her clearly. 3 months passed, and Tina Peters almost didn't recognize the woman she was becoming. She was lighter, calmer, grounded in a way she had never been before. For the first time since she was 19, she wasn't measuring her worth by who texted her, who complimented her, or who was offering attention. She was measuring herself by her growth, by her peace, by her confidence, by the choices she made every day. And Darren Cole, he didn't interrupt that growth. He blended into it. Not as a rescue mission, not as a source of validation, but as a gentle presence moving at the same pace she chose. Consistency that didn't feel like performance. Darren didn't overwhelm her, but he didn't disappear either. Every morning he sent a short message. "Have a peaceful day, Tina." Sometimes she replied immediately, sometimes she didn't. He never complained. He simply continued showing up in a steady, dependable way. When they went out, his attention wasn't possessive. It was observant. He noticed when she was cold and offered his jacket. He noticed when she was tired and made the evening short. He listened without interrupting, without trying to fix everything, without pretending to be perfect. And he didn't parade her around like a trophy. He respected her privacy. When she mentioned a stressful week at work, he didn't say, "You're stressing too much." He said, "How can I support you?" When she needed space to think, he didn't guilt-trip her. He simply said, "Take your time. I'm here." And that was something that stunned her. The idea of a man being present without being demanding. Healing slowly, not suddenly. Even though Tina was happy, she knew she was still healing from years of heartbreak and disappointment. Her trust wasn't something she could just hand over like an envelope. She shared this with Darren one evening as they sat at a small park drinking smoothies. "I'm learning myself again," she said softly. "And it scares me. That maybe I'm moving too slowly for you." Darren looked at her with calm eyes. "Tina, I'm not here for a race. I'm here for you. However slowly or steadily you choose to move." Those words didn't just comfort her. They settled inside her like warm sunlight. For the first time, she felt she could heal while being loved gently. Not pressured, not judged. The test she didn't expect. One weekend, Tina discovered something surprising about Darren. Something she didn't expect. They stopped by a mall to get a few items, and while they were browsing a store, a woman approached them. Stylish, confident. "Darren," she said, eyes wide. Darren turned slowly. Oh, Elaine. Hi. Tina watched them curiously. Elaine gave him a stiff smile. It's been a while. It has, he replied politely. There was no awkward closeness, no hidden spark. Just two adults acknowledging the past. Elaine's eyes shifted to Tina. This must be Tina, Darren said with pride in his voice. My friend. Tina smiled and shook Elaine's hand. The woman nodded politely, wished them a good day, and walked off. As soon as she left, Darren turned to Tina. She's my ex, he said calmly. We ended things peacefully a long time ago. I thought you should know. Tina blinked, surprised at his openness. You didn't have to explain so quickly, she said. Yes, I did, he replied. You've dealt with too many people hiding things from you. I want to be different. That moment wasn't dramatic, but it made something inside her click. Honesty didn't have to be dragged out of someone. Some people offered it freely. The conversation that defined everything. A week later, Tina invited Darren to her apartment for the first time. Not because she wanted to impress him, but because she wanted him to see the world she'd built. Her sanctuary, her peace. He walked in and smiled softly. This place feels like you. She raised a brow. What does that mean? Warm, he said honestly. Organized. Intentional. They sat on her couch, enjoying the silence, before Tina exhaled and said what had been resting on her mind. Darren, I'm scared. He didn't flinch. Of what? Of losing myself again, she said quietly. I don't want to fall into old patterns, giving too much, shrinking my needs, making excuses for someone. Darren shifted closer, but respectfully. Tina, he said gently, you're not the same woman you were before. You're stronger, more aware. And even if you stumble, I won't let you lose yourself. Her eyes softened. Why me, though? Because you're real, he answered simply. Because you have a good heart that life tried to break, but you kept it soft. And because being with you feels peaceful. Tina felt her heart melt, not from flattery, but from sincerity. This wasn't love she had to chase. This wasn't love she had to beg for. This wasn't love she had to perform for. This was love growing in healthy soil. A new kind of ending. Their relationship blossomed slowly, naturally, respectfully. There were no dramatic fights, no disappearing acts, no mind games. They communicated. They compromised. They encouraged each other. But the greatest love story wasn't between Tina and Darren. It was between Tina and herself. The woman who once begged to be chosen was now choosing herself every day. The woman who once rushed into love was now walking with steady steps. The woman who once feared being alone now embraced her own company. And because she stopped chasing love, love found her, healthy, calm, and mature. A life lesson for every young woman. The night she finally reflected on her journey, Tina wrote one final message in her journal. Words she wished she could tell every younger girl, every girl who ever felt unworthy, every girl who ever begged for crumbs of affection. Never search for love in desperation. Become the woman who knows her worth, and the right love will walk toward you. Calmly, clearly, confidently. Love shouldn't drain you. It should grow you. And that was the truth Tina Peters carried with her. She didn't find love. She became the kind of woman love could find. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up. Tell us what you think of the story and where you are watching from in the comment section. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Share this video with someone who might love it too. And as always, stay safe, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.